Elliotte, what does this tell you about the Montreal Canadiens and where they're at? Because Nick Suzuki has been a big part of their success in the postseason the last couple of years.
First of all, let me say, Jackie, that is quite a French accent you've got going there. Rolls right off the tongue. I think it's a W for Montreal. I don't know if he's ever going to be an 80 to 90 point guy, but I think he's a number one center in the league. He's got a good two-way game. He's played really well for them in a couple of playoffs now, one in the bubble and one last year. He doesn't seem bothered by much or intimidated by much. And, after what happened to them with Kotkaniemi, don't screw around. Get your guy signed so there's no more funny business. The other thing, too, I think this is big about, guys, is that, Weber's not playing. Price is not there right now. There's been some bad news around the Canadiens. I think you start the season with some good news on the team. I like that. I think it's a good way to start the year.
Well, there's no question that they believe in Nick Suzuki, right? This is what happens with young players and management groups. They have to make that decision. Do you see him as a core guy? And they see him in that role, so they've paid him today. They've paid him an awful lot of money. We'll see how it plays out.
Here's my question about Nick Suzuki. He had some funny comments today in the media, Elliotte, talking about, I was talking to my brother, and I felt like I was playing NHL 20, and I could just, get whatever contract I want. I mean, Elliotte, you're talking to these front office guys all the time. How do you think Marc Bergevin would react to that commentary this morning?
Well, first of all, this makes me I realize I'm really old and I have nothing in common with these young players. You know what? The thing is, I don't think that Bergevin would have any problem with that. As a matter of fact, you know what I see that as, Jackie? I see it as very relatable. I bet you a lot of hockey fans, young hockey fans especially, are going to hear Nick Suzuki say that, and they're going to be like, "That's cool. I just signed. I play NHL 20, and Nick Suzuki plays NHL 20." I think things like that they really relate. I think they really relate with the young generation, and I like that. I like those kinds of comments.
Yeah, nice promo for the game, too. And Marc Bergevin, he has quite a sense of humor. He once hid plates in my purse at a golf tournament, and I just, had a bunch of plates in my purse. I was like, what happened? He was over in a corner just waving. I was like, oh, this is you. Okay, yeah. Cool. Moving right along, let's talk about Alex Ovechkin. What is the latest on him, and can we expect to see him, or when do you think we can expect to see him on the ice?
I figure now, I know I'm supposed to be this great insider, but when it comes to injuries in the National Hockey League, I don't get a lot of information. I mean, I felt bad for the Capitals beat reporters this morning, tweeting he's on the ice, he's off the ice, he's back on the ice. Look, I think he's going to do everything he can to play. One of Ovechkin's greatest skills, aside from his fantastic shot, is that he is durable. He doesn't miss a lot of games. I think the other thing, too, is you look at that Washington lineup without Ovechkin and Backstrom in it, it's thinner. And I think he realizes that, and I think he's going to do everything he can to play. I just can't give you a definite answer.
Yeah, you're bang on there. He doesn't miss a game unless he's, I don't know, dead or something. Whatever.
Suspended, who knows.
And even if he plays on one leg and he's sit there in that one-timer position, he's going to be pretty effective. Just to go back, one thing on Nick Suzuki, it seems like all these entry league guys, Matthews, McDavid, Matthew Tkachuk, after 2 or 3 years, they're getting these massive contracts. It's different than 20 years ago when I played out of my ELS. I signed, I think, 5 QOs to get to a UFA. How do you solve that? And I'm all for players getting money, all for that. But if you're Gary Bettman, how do you solve that? You go from making $1 million to making, 8, 9, 13 million.
Boy, I got to tell you, Scott, it's a great question because to me, everybody's different. And I always say to people, Nick Suzuki's in his early 20s. When I was in my early 20s, I was a total cement head. I was just. And if you would have said to me, you're being given $8 million and you're going to be the focal point of the team, I would not have been prepared for it. And I think generally younger players now are prepared for it better, but there's still going to be the odd one who has trouble handling it. I don't worry about this with Suzuki, but Scott, it used to be like you said, you didn't get the big money in the NHL till you were late 20s, early 30s. This new generation of player, this new generation of young person, they're not interested in that. They want to get the money as soon as they possibly can, and I don't have a problem with it because you're worth what someone's willing to negotiate with you. But the other thing, too, is that in the analytic world, Scott, all the analytics feel that you should be paid when you're younger, because those are the years where you're going to best give the value of your contract. Most players now who sign when they're older, it's harder to live up to that because it's a younger person's game now. So I think this is the way we're going. And now that the horse is out of the barn, Scott, I'm not sure it's ever going to change.
Yeah, you know, Elliotte, what it is, I mean, in the past, they paid for what you did prior, and now they project. And I think you're bang on. And, you know, this is one of those cases where I do agree with the numbers in that you want that guy on your team from, let's say, ages 22 to 30. And when you get into a situation where guys become unrestricted free agents at 28, 29, you inevitably have to give them the 8 years. We just saw that with Mika Zibanejad. And you get into a circumstance where now you are paying, you know that guy is not going to be the same player in most cases, in 99 out of 100 cases, at 34, 35, 36. So I think it's a projection. They feel that he's a core guy for their team, and we'll just have to see if they're right.
You know, what they have to do, Scott, is they have to surround Suzuki with like 7 Scott Hartnells.
Just to keep him safe, right?
Hey, somewhere to put that money, I've got some like Bitcoin investments I can put that in.
There we go.
All right, let's get to Brady Tkachuk because the Senators season opener, I believe, is Thursday, so still a couple days left to figure this out. On one side, from what we're hearing, the team is looking for term. Brady Tkachuk and his camp is looking for more of a bridge deal. What can you tell us there, and what's your expectation about maybe could this get done in time for the first game?
You know, Jackie, I always try to be optimistic, and I like first day of training camp is the pressure point. I don't believe that. Last week the Senators were saying we might have to be prepared for not starting the season without Tkachuk. I think that's a little bit of talk and rhetoric. I don't get caught up in this. I do think this, and Scott, you can speak to this more than anybody else does. Whenever you miss games, like regular season games, it changes the dynamic. And I think both sides of the Senators and Tkachuk have tried to keep this from getting nasty. I think if we get into a situation, and their first game is Thursday, where he misses games, I think it's going to go sideways. I think there's going to be a problem. I look at it this way. If I'm the Ottawa Senators, I'm trying to build up my fan base. I'm trying to sell tickets. I think in this case, the player has a little bit more of the hammer if he's not willing to budge. If I'm the Ottawa Senators, I look at Josh Norris, I look at Drake Batherson, I look at Thomas Chabot, I look at Shane Pinto, I look at all my young players, and I'm saying these guys like playing with each other, and we've got a chance. I'll bet on us that I'm giving Brady Tkachuk a 3-year deal. Now, I don't sign the checks. I don't know if they'll agree with that. But I think in this case, the player has a bit more of the hammer. And if I'm Ottawa, I'm making a 3-year deal to get him in here and start the season. Because I think if Ottawa starts the year really well, I think there's a chance of a positive snowball of momentum.
I completely agree with you, Elliotte. I think this is one of those ones they got to read the tea leaves, and I think they should get him signed and maybe give on that. Let me ask you this. Do you think this is, like, I feel this is a different deal just because it's so unique. You know, Brady's dad is someone that had a lot of success in the National Hockey League for a long time. I mean, he could be someone that could be in the Hall of Fame someday. You have his brother is in the league as well. I mean, they understand the business here. Do you think it's different because of the background?
I do. I think it's different because of the background. I think it's also different because of the family personality. The Tkachuks are not shy. They are confident. They believe in themselves and their position. So I think that all of that makes the situation different. Yes, 100%. Like Scott, like you had to know that there were guys on your team. They were guys who were not afraid to sit out, and you had to know there were guys on your team when push came to shove. They were total cowards, and they were coming. But the Tkachuks, those guys aren't afraid.
No, they play the game the right way. They're around the net. They're having body checks. They're sticking up for their teammates. They do play the game the right way. And you'd think if you're the GM, the owner of the Ottawa Senators, you get those guys signed ASAP for sure.
All right, well, time will tell. We are running out of time. So, Elliotte, really, really quick, just the latest on Kraftstoff and the New York Rangers.
Yeah, so basically what happened is Krasov didn't make the roster, and the Rangers, his agent is named Dan Milstein. They've given his agent permission to talk to other NHL teams. You have to make a deal, but Jackie, I understand there's a lot of interest in the player.
Right on.
Oh, I wasn't sure if we lost Elliotte there for a second. My bad. Listen, it's day one. These are the things that are going to happen. Elliotte, always...
To be finishing an answer in 30 seconds. So.
Well, listen, Elliotte, always a pleasure to see you. Happy opening night. I don't know how long you're going to be clean shaven for. I don't know if you'll have a beard by your next hit, but it's always nice talking to you, and enjoy the games tonight.
All right, guys. One of the great nights of the year. I'm excited for the season. Enjoy. Great to chat.